begin by first expressing my disappointment that Mr. Matthew Mackenzie is not featuring on the Liberal panel.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dare to presume why they chose to leave him out. But I guess it must be difficult in the Liberal Party if you are in fact from planet Earth and capable of using your head as more than just a way to frame your shoulders. So now I'm left with dealing with the B team, but que sera, sera. So let me first give you a picture of the international context in which we are bringing in a carbon price. Countries such as China, 10 US states, a UK Tory government, a New Zealand Tory government, are already acting on climate change. In addition, 89 countries representing 80% of global emissions and 90% of the economy have already flagged moves towards tackling climate change. These are facts. Facts are things that are true regardless of whether or not you want to believe them. But of course, even in lieu of any international action, we have an ethical responsibility to act. You'll have to forgive my deja vu, ladies and gentlemen, but when it comes to debating the Liberal Party on any motion, I inevitably have to come back to ethics. Ethics is the Liberal Party's Achilles heel. They are incapable of comprehending the world that exists beyond their own party. Children of 5 understand the basic premise, 2 wrongs do not make a right. So, even in lieu of any international action whatsoever, we have a duty to act, but this knowledge seems to be all but missing in the ranks of the demagogic right. Let me give you another little fact. Over 40% of global emissions come from economies that, like Australia, individually represent less than 2% of the global total. If these countries, as the Liberal Party would have us do, decided not to limit their emissions, the global goal of holding temperature rise to below 2 degrees would be unachievable. Treasury modelling shows that for economies like Australia, deferring action will only lead to higher long-term costs. Now again, the long-term is something that you have difficulty trying to communicate to these people, but I do my best. Cost of living. Let me talk about cost of living for a second. This is a tax, as Cass pointed out, on the 500 biggest polluters. The carbon price was never designed to tax individuals, and it will not affect individuals. More than 50% of the revenue raised from the carbon price will go towards compensation packages.
Have you read your own material?
In fact, 90% of Australians will receive compensation. Of that 90, 67% will be fully or overcompensated, and the other 33% will be partly compensated. The remaining 10% can afford to pay the mammoth $9.90 per week, and they should be made to pay. And if that means that the Watson dynasty has to go out without another yacht for this year, then so be it. Are well aware of but simply ignoring is that cost of living will continue to rise. Petrol will continue to get more expensive. Energy will continue to get more expensive, even in spite of an out-of-touch Liberal state government. Everything will continue to get more and more expensive, and the only way to secure long-term, affordable and visionary Australia is with a visionary Labor government. Once again, history has shown that it takes a Labor government in coalition with the Greens and capable politicians who respect science to usher in the country into a new age of development. This will represent one of the most radical, fundamental changes to the economy since the Keating government, with the tax-free threshold, as Cass also mentioned, tripling from 6,000 to 18,200. And the Liberals over here, they deride us for redistributing it as though we're going to be offended by that, as though there's something inherently wrong about improving the lives of people who are less fortunate than you, Ben, who are less fortunate than you, Gemma. And I'm not going to comment on Miles, because I know he was a good friend of mine. I don't want to jeopardise that relationship with Miles. Miles like Matt Mackenzie, where has he gone? He's pretty cool.
I'm flattered, I really am.
Right. Our youth allowance, AB study and Oz study will also increase to the tune of 1.7% to the maximum rate to assist with adjustments to the carbon price. Low-income earners will be eligible to apply for an extra $300 a year to help cope with increased costs. This will be in addition to compensation packages and general tax cuts. Once again, it falls to the parties of the left to ensure that the less fortunate are looked after. And how, you might ask, is the Liberal Party planning on tackling climate change? Well, they're not. Tony Abbott and Joe Hockey want to tackle climate change by getting 15,000 people to plant trees, investing in carbon sequestration, which is not capable of delivering the emissions reductions, paying polluters to pollute, and if you can work out the logic behind that, comrades, you're a better logician than I. Thank you.